Hi, I'm Clever Ghoul, but you can call me Nikki. About a month ago, this video popped up on my For You page on TikTok, and it felt very targeted. The algorithm clearly knows that I am a fan of Mod Podge. I use it for paper mache, I use it to seal things, I use it all the time. So the algorithm was really algorithming when it sent me this video by Scorch Marker.
I think it's time we dethroned Mod Podge as the queen of all crafting glues with something new. How about something that cures in less than 45 days? How about something that will dry in 45 minutes? How about something that doesn't show brush strokes, doesn't stink, it's clear, and can be tinted? What about making your items dishwasher safe and you can use it outside? Yep, I think it's time, Mod Podge, for you to move over from Magic Modge.
Now, watching this video, there was a lot of things brought up about my beloved and this new product and how it could do better. I don't know about you, but I was shocked to learn that Mod Podge can take 40 days or more to cure. I had no idea. There was never a thought in my little coconut head that said, maybe this isn't fully cured. And when I first heard this in the video, I thought, there's no way. Until I read the back of the bottle. You would have thought I would have read this at some point, but of course, never have. At the top it says, use on most surfaces, non-toxic, apply with a soft bristle brush or foam applicator. Cure time, 4 weeks. 4 weeks. Once I had confirmed that that video was correct and telling me the truth about the cure time on this, I decided that I was going to just sign up for this product as soon as it came out and have it shipped to me. So here it is. Magic Modge by Scorch Marker, glossy. Now, the one thing about Mod Podge is it has a ton of different finishes, and obviously this is a new product. I'm only gonna compare it to the glossy Mod Podge that I have, because that's the only way to really, in my mind, give it a fair comparison. It has all of these claims, but can it really live up to the hype? I guess we're gonna have to test it out and see. Look, I am not a scientist, so just, keep your hopes middle of the road. Don't have high hopes. With all that being said, let's get into it. I just wanna reiterate too that all of these opinions are my own. They're based on my personal experience. I am not affiliated with this brand. I paid for this with my own money. This is just my personal opinion, and there's no shade or anything here. This is just me testing out a product. So I think to start this test, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 2 pieces of washi tape down, seal one with the Magic Modge and seal one with Mod Podge, and let that sit for the 45 minutes that it says it will take to cure. I also wrote down on the brushes which brushes for which product, and I'm just peeling this washi tape off and putting it on chipboard that's labeled so that we know which one's which. Just opened this up and it's really watery. I'm gonna close it and shake it. This is the new product. It's much more fluid, and even with shaking, it's still pretty watery. Now it said it didn't stink at all. If you take a big huff of it like I just did, which is not how you should waft. If I waft, there's not really anything there, but if I directly get over it, there is a scent. They didn't say it was odorless. They said it didn't stink. I mean, I feel like that's semantics. So I'm gonna pour a little bit into this cup here, just a little bit. As you can see, the Mod Podge is already thicker. I'm starting by brushing on this Magic Modge with the sponge brush. Now, as I sponge it on, I can see streaks, but it says it doesn't dry with them. But that went on really smoothly. It's really shiny. Now I'm putting on the Mod Podge, which goes on white. I will say that's a noticeable first difference. So now I've put a thin layer on of each. Actually, before we wait the 45 minutes, I think what I'm going to do instead is take some food coloring like I did with the Elmer's glue and tint both the Mod Podge and the Magic Modge, and then apply it to the same chipboard but also to white paper so we can just see how that looks. I'm gonna use purple. I'm gonna do 1 drop into the Magic Modge, and I'm putting 1 drop into the Mod Podge. This is the Magic Modge purple going on the edge of this washi tape here. So there's 1 coat of the Mod Podge. And now I'm also going to extend it to the white piece of paper here. And again, we're just going to let that sit and dry for 45 minutes and see what happens. So what I'm going to do next is a decoupage and an acrylic paint test. I'm going to put those on the chipboard using the glues. And then I also have this purple acrylic paint, which I'm just going to do a streak of on each side, let that dry, and then add the glue to that. I have new clean foam brushes. So there's the Magic Modge. I got some on this side, so maybe I should make a little note that says, this is Magic Modge. We're going to take Mod Podge. I'm just going to put it directly onto the brush, just sticking that down. I sprayed some excess on the sides and I'm just swiping that up too and putting it on that little flower cutout. I can already see both of them are having trouble sticking down right away, which is probably user error, so I wouldn't fault them that. I'm going to take another layer of each glue and put it on the respective sides. When I first opened the Magic Modge, I did say that I noticed it was watery, and I will say, look at this right now. It's wrinkling the paper, and when I try to smooth it out with my fingers, it doesn't really want to. You can see when I take my finger to try and smooth it. It doesn't want to, and it's really sticky. As with the Mod Podge, you can see it's really flat and it's like sticking on there right away and there's no wrinkling. So what I'm doing here is I have this little bit of purple paint. I have this cheap synthetic flat brush. I'm painting 2 coats on either side. So I'm actually gonna do 3 coats, really get the color on there, because when you paint on something dark like this chipboard, it kind of sucks up the color. There's an even layer on each side. I just showed you how I didn't really like that decoupage example with the Magic Modge, but I reread the label. It says for decoupage, apply a thin layer, smooth, let dry, and then repeat. So technically, I didn't use it correctly. So what I'm gonna do is I cut out another one of these flowers, and I'm going to put a little bit on the back first, put it down, and then again, take a little bit, I'm gonna just dab off any excess here. Just a thin layer, smoothing it out. Well, let's see how that goes. Well, the paint is mostly dry on each side. You can see it's still a little damp on the Mod Podge side here, but I'm just going to go in on this side and do a Mod Podge strip and a Magic Modge strip here. Using this as a sealer, it says apply a thin coat, let dry, apply 1 to 2 more times, let dry. So here we go. This is the Magic Modge going on the acrylic paint, and now I'm going to do the Mod Podge on this side. So it's been almost an hour since I did that first piece of chipboard and that white sheet of paper. It's interesting because on the TikTok he says it'll dry in 45 minutes, and on the bottle it says it'll dry in an hour. I'm gonna go by what the label says. It's okay that it dries in an hour. It's just if there's conflicting information where the company online says, no, it's 45 minutes, and then it says an hour on the bottle. A little confusing. Let's review this chipboard piece first, okay? I can see streaks in both. However, I did use a sponge brush, and that is probably more likely to have happened with a sponge brush. It's partially why I used a sponge brush. I really wanted to put it to the limit. The streaks on the actual tape itself, you don't really see them. I see them on the chipboard, but not on the tape that we sealed down with the Magic Modge. It's definitely smooth to the touch. On the Mod Podge side, there are streaks, and there's streaks on the tape. The texture is way more noticeable. I think Magic Modge wins this round. The streaks are extremely minimal compared to Mod Podge. It feels nicer, it's shiny, but let's see how it did on the white piece of paper. On the left here is the Magic Modge, and on the right is the Mod Podge. They're both streaky, but granted, the way I painted them on, they had streaks before they dried. What I will say though, the Magic Modge isn't streaky in the way that the Mod Podge is. The Mod Podge, you can see every fine line and little detail of that sponge brush that went through. It's like textured, whereas it's much smoother here. And I know that this is printer paper, so that's like not the best material in the world to be using for this, but it's still interesting and shows that there is a difference. I'll hold it up here. Now you can see the glossiness in both. You see how it's streaky there? And again, there's streaks here, but that's just from how I laid the glue down. It's still relatively smooth versus the streaks. So I guess Magic Modge also wins this round. Technically, it's the same round that we just did. I wanted to take a look at the decoupage so far and what's going on with it. So I did the second one, gave it time to dry. However, even with a thin coat as directed, it's still popping up. You can see it there. It's happening here and here. It's sticking up even when used as directed. It's not staying down the way it's supposed to. And there's streaks. You can kind of see them here. There's still streaks. With the Mod Podge, yeah, there's some streaks, but you know what? It's completely flat. There's not a single edge sticking up. I put them on the exact same way. When it comes to this round for decoupage, I think that Mod Podge actually has it in the bag. But I'm going to do another coat. So far, you can still see it has some streaks. And the Mod Podge is actually smoother so far, but we're gonna put another coat on like I said, and then I'll see you in 2 days to see how everything held up. It's been over 48 hours, woohoo! Let's start with the clear and tinted Magic Modge on the washi tape / chipboard. We can see that the streaks are almost non-existent and that the surface looks glossy and smooth. When I touched it, it felt really glossy like a vinyl or something similar. The Mod Podge, on the other hand, still had streaks, more noticeable on the tinted side, and while it did dry glossy, it wasn't quite as shiny as the Magic Modge. It also felt dry and not really glossy to the touch. For the tinted samples on white paper, the Magic Modge felt smooth but a little more tacky than it did on the previous sample. It didn't have textured streaks or brush strokes. The Mod Podge still had the textured streaks that it had a few days ago, and it felt almost the same as the chipboard. It was dry but slightly glossier. As for the decoupage, the Magic Modge still felt smooth and glossy, but the streaks were just as noticeable as they were a couple days ago. The ridges from the brush strokes were very visible. I think this is my error and I should have used a flat brush, but at the same time, if it says it dries streak-free, it should do so. The Mod Podge still had brush strokes, but they were smaller and very faint compared to the Magic Modge. And when comparing both samples by touch, they all felt similar. However, Magic Modge was slightly tackier than Mod Podge here. Lastly, when it came to the acrylic paint swatches, the brush strokes were the worst here for Magic Modge. They were very pronounced, and you could feel the ridges when running your fingers over it. The Mod Podge still had brush strokes, but again, they were faint, and you couldn't feel them when you touched it. So what do I think? Overall, I think Magic Modge is a really good product, but it has some kinks it still needs to work out. Maybe in 6 months or a year or further out, it could very well overtake Mod Podge. But for now, I think I was right in being a little skeptical of the bold claims. I also forgot to mention the price. Again, this is a tiny company and I want to support them, but for one 8 fluid ounce bottle, it cost $19.99. I had a coupon, so I spent $17.51 via Amazon, but you can buy the same amount of glossy Mod Podge on Amazon for $3.98. So many of us are on a budget right now, so for me, this is a really big point to factor in, and I didn't want to forget to mention it. I do think this has potentially really great use for cosplay. I saw the company's video of sealing leather with Magic Modge, and it looked pretty good. And then I saw a review on Amazon of someone saying it worked great for EVA foam. So I think Magic Modge does have categories outside of what I tested that it could be much better than Mod Podge at. And I'm only basing this off of these few tests that I did. I still want to try it on more products. I barely scratched the surface of what it says it can go on, and I want to try it in different applications too. Now, before I get to my final verdict, let's review all of the claims from that TikTok video. Dries in 45 minutes? Kinda. I think an hour is maybe a more realistic time frame, and I'm still confused over all the marketing saying it's 45 minutes when the bottle says 1 hour on the label. Doesn't show brush strokes. Again, kinda. I think that with certain brushes, it doesn't show brush strokes, but that should be specified on the bottle also. I do think it may be less likely to show them than the Mod Podge, but in some cases, they were super pronounced still. Doesn't stink. 100% disagree. Hard disagree. I think Mod Podge just smells like glue, but Magic Modge smells very strongly of chemicals, enough so that I would suggest using it in a ventilated area. Obviously, you should use glue in a ventilated area, but it doesn't say that on the packaging anywhere, and when they say there's no odor, it was a really big surprise. It definitely burnt my nose breathing it in, so I think it's something that should be mentioned. Clear and can be tinted. Yes, this is true, but the Mod Podge also showed it can be tinted, and even if it goes on white, it still dried clear. I can't vouch for the dishwasher or outside use, but it does seem to have cured after 48 hours, which is impressive. So let's get to the real question here. Do I think it's better than Mod Podge as a whole? Not yet, but for now I am going to try and incorporate it in more projects so that I get a better feel for it and maybe my mind will change. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you next week with our regularly scheduled creepy craft project. Bye!